I'm Ritchie, and today is September 17th, 2013, and I will be interviewing my father, Douglas Ritchie, and I'm doing this for the West Virginia's Legacy Project for Glenville State College. Now, Dad, could you please give me your full name that is on your birth certificate?
Douglas Allen Ritchie.
Okay. Do you currently have or ever had a nickname?
Well, yeah, bouncing around as many bases as I did, you kind of got a different nickname everywhere. At my first duty station at Langley.
Like, I mean, as a kid.
Well, I had a little boy next door that called me Duck because he couldn't say Doug, but that was about it.
Now, what would you have been known in as your time in the military?
Well, at my first duty station, they called me Richie Rich.
Why is that?
Because my last name is Ritchie.
Okay, but were you rich?
No, but everybody knew the cartoon, so, it just fit to call me that, I guess. Because I was the young pup at the base at 18 years old, and, so
I get called that sometimes.
I had a lot of people that looked after me, you might say. Then I went to Germany, and the folks there called me MacGyver because anytime they locked themselves out of their car, they'd call me and I'd go find them and get their car unlocked, or if they had another problem with something, or if they was in trouble, I always found a way to fix it to where it didn't affect their record.
Who was like MacGyver?
MacGyver was a television show back in the 80s, and just about every episode he used duct tape to fix something. To rig a propane bottle to something so that he could take the end off of it and it'd shoot off like a missile, and catch bad guys. But mostly he could rig up anything to catch bad guys.
So he was like a superhero, pretty much.
Well, he was kind of like, how Scooby and the gang make up traps and stuff.
Yeah.
He would do that kind of stuff to catch the bad guys.
So it's sort of like an early version of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Was MacGyver before Scooby-Doo?
No,
or
he was after Scooby-Doo.
So he was...
But he wasn't animated.
So this, like, Duck Dynasty. Have you ever watched that?
Yes.
Like, is it like that? Sort of?
Yeah, no, because they're just there running their business and making up funny stuff for you to look at. It was more like Knight Rider. Do you know who Knight Rider was?
Was he the one with the motorcycle?
No, he was the one with the car that talked.
Oh, yeah.
Kit, the black car that talked. Yeah. Or Magnum P.I.
Well, is there anywhere else? Anything else?
Well, let's see, we left Germany, I went to South Carolina, and South Carolina we played a lot of softball. And
Of course.
I was called Big Sarge, because we all had our own nickname on the ball field, and I played first base, and for some reason they called me Big Sarge.
Wait, really big?
Well, that's about the weight I am right now, but yeah, that's pretty heavy for the
Were you
guys
as
in the
tall as you
military.
are now? Or?
Yeah.
So you're about like you are now?
Yeah. So I'm not really that big, but I ran, I'm slow, so they all call me Big Sarge.
Anywhere else? Any other nicknames?
Well, I got to the Arctic Survival School we talked about earlier, or we're going to talk about later, and there, we had one guy that was called Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man. Okay.
Of course, he
So
has to be
then-
the marshmallow. What's he
so
about as big as a marshmallow?
See,
Is that
then
marshmallow?
there was me. I was as big as he was, so they started calling me the Michelin Man. So, but that's about it.
So that's it. Where were you born?
I was born in Summersville, West Virginia. 18 miles down the road from where I live now. And then I lived 18 miles the other direction in the county from where I live now. Opposite direction.
Were you born in Summersville, but then did you move and raise somewhere else?
No, I was born in Summersville, but then we lived in Calvin, which was 18 miles up Route 41 in Nicholas County. And then I joined the service and I traveled around the world, and now I'm retired and I came back and settled here in Levacy, West Virginia.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad was a core driller, and what that...
Isn't that what, like, they take and they drill holes in the mine for light?
Well, no, that's not what their primary thing is. Their primary thing was that they would take and they would drill down in the ground as far as they could go. You know, if a coal mine might have contracted out the company that Papa worked for, so if they wanted a hole drilled 3,500 feet, 3,500 feet, well, they'd start drilling down and then they'd pull what they call the core, okay? So they pull all the rock that there's drilling out of the hole, and they lay it in boxes in the way, in the order going down. Then they'd ship it off to the geologists, and they would study it, and they would make the determination whether it was more economical for the coal company to deep mine it by going underground, or strip mining it by removing mountaintop.
So they would, like,
get to
tell
the pump.
you if you need to strip mine it or deep
Mine
mine
it. And your grandma Bonnie, she was a recorder in the courthouse for a long time. And what that was is, if people came in and they bought a piece of land or something, she would handwrite everything about that deed into the land books.
Oh.
Or if somebody was born, she would write that in to the birth register. And she had very beautiful handwriting. And that's how she got the job.
Was Mama or Papa ever involved, or any other close family members ever involved in the military or Air Force?
Well, not my immediate family, but I did have Uncle Gene that was in the Air Force. He actually retired about a month before I went in. And I have a cousin, David, that spent 12 years in the Marine Corps. And I have another cousin right now currently serving in the Air Force.
Who?
His name is Adam.
My cousin Matt, doesn't he serve for like the National Guard?
I think he's in the National Guard or something
Okay.
down in Charleston, yeah.
I was thinking that was it.
So when we're on active duty, we joke around and say that they don't really count.
Because they don't do anything.
Well, they don't do as much training as we did on active duty.
Okay. Would you describe, like, what your childhood was like?
Well, in my childhood, I grew up in a rural area where we would, I would hunt almost every day I could, or go fishing almost every day I could.
So you were an outdoorsman?
I mowed lawns to earn money. when I was your age.
Good way.
I would go out in the woods and find ginseng and sell it to make money.
How much money would you make for ginseng?
Well,
When you were a
back
kid?
then we only made about $125, $130 for a pound. Now it's running about $400 a pound. And somewhere between then and now, it had been as high as $700 a pound.
Wow.
So we really felt like we got cheated. But things were a little cheaper then. You know.
Yeah, like they were like $5 for a gun.
Well, we ain't that old, son.
Well, you look like it.
I appreciate it.
Okay, where did you go to school? Where did you go to grade school? Where did you go to junior high school? And where did you go to high school?
I went to Beaver Grade School, and back then it was grades 1 through 8, and that school is going to be used for a vocational school now because they built.
The new Craigsville one.
We had the Craigsville grade school and Beaver grade school that was fairly close anyway. So now they just built a new grade school out at Craigsville, and they're going to use Beaver as a vocational school. And then all the kids that went to Beaver will now go to Craigsville.
What's a vocational school?
Well, they teach stuff like wood shop, yeah, or auto body. They teach you how to paint cars and fix dents in cars,
Yeah.
or fix motors in cars and stuff like that. Maybe welding. They might teach welding out there. I just don't know. It's been a long time since I've been near one.
Where did you go to junior high school?
Junior high school, I went to Summersville
What grades were you
Junior High
going
School.
to then?
Well, and that was 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th,
Yeah, so I didn't actually get to go to grade school 1 through 8. My older sister did. But when I got up there to that point, 7th, 8th, and 9th was junior high. And then later I went to Nicholas County High School, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Oh, so you went to school kindergarten through 5th grade, and then you went to school.
6th grade.
Oh yeah, kindergarten through 6th grade, and then you went to school 7th through 9th for junior high, and then you went to school from 10th to 12th for high school.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to a college?
Well, not initially. After I joined the military, then I started taking classes at different places. And I had went to college at Extensions of Maryland University, City Colleges of Chicago, William and Mary. And then finally, when I ended up in Alaska, I got more serious about my degree, and I took a lot of classes with Wayland Baptist University.
Okay. What was your childhood like? Like, I know I asked this earlier, but is there any more stuff to describe what your childhood was really like?
I had an older sister and 2 younger brothers, and we didn't have a whole lot of gadgets like you kids got today to play with.
Yeah, like Wii's and Xbox.
We had an Atari and a Nintendo 64, I think it was called. But we didn't get to play with it if it was sunshine outside.
Yeah, my friend Tyler, he has a Nintendo 64.
We had to go outside. We had to go outside and play.
Until
So
it
we
got
go
dark.
outside and we might play in the creek or old ponds that were around. We'd go swim in the ponds or something, or
I like
just
swimming.
go up in the woods and hang out, you know, just to try to figure out what all the different plants were. And then if it was raining, we got to play with our Atari or our Nintendo.
Are there any specific events during your childhood that you would like to describe?
Well, yeah, I can remember my brother and my sister, we were tight. We didn't fight with each other. Took up for each other. We loved doing things together. And we had a rack 'em and stack 'em kind of system. In that if Mom was driving, Robin got the shotgun and me and my brother sat in the back. If Dad was driving, Mom got a shotgun, and my sister and me and my brothers, we sat in the back.
But there's 4 of you.
There wasn't no seatbelt laws back then.
Oh.
We had seatbelts, but there wasn't a law saying you had to. And
Like there is now.
yeah, and
Click it or ticket.
and that's more or less, in my opinion, a tax. Just another way they can get some money out of you, you know, because that should be personal choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may save your life, may not.
Yeah, you never know. Unless you're actually in a wreck.
Yeah, and then I remember one time your grandpa George had a Triumph 250 motorcycle, and
Would have liked to see one of that.
I can't remember if I was on the front. I must have been on the front seat. Papa was behind me riding me, and we come in the yard and he hit the front brakes and flipped both of us over the handlebar. And your Uncle Brad was standing on the porch and he's like, "Let's see you do that again, Dad." Me and Dad wasn't about to show that again if at all possible.
Dad, have you remained connected to the area where you were raised?
Have we ever what?
Remained connected with the area you were raised?
Well, yeah. My mom and dad still live there.
So would you like to go there more?
Well, I go over there and maybe I should have bought it, I don't know, but now somebody else owns my grandpa's house. This is right there, and you got Papa George's, that Papa Hubert's house, and Uncle Ricky's house. Well, now somebody else owns great grandpa
That would have
Hubert's
been
house.
nice to own that. It would have been nice.
Well, I mean, even if I bought it and tore it down, it wasn't in that good a shape.
No, it really wasn't.
So, but yeah, we go over there, hunt sometimes, pass football, and hang out with Papa George. We don't do it as much as we should.
Yeah, I would like to go there more.
So we need to try to make that a priority.
Okay. Did you feel the need to enlist in the military, or were you drafted?
Well, no, I enlisted, but it was all those years of hearing Papa George talk about Uncle Gene and how he's going to have a retirement at age 38 and da-da-da, and Uncle Gene was great and everything. So, all the talk, I just felt like my dad wanted me to follow my uncle in his footsteps. One thing that I regret is I wish my Uncle Gene would have told me to go to college first and go in as an officer instead of enlisted.
Yeah.
But I had a good time. 21 years. Yeah, and my fund meter was pegged after that. You know, it was time to retire. But they, you know, I was medically retired, so kind of got forced to retire, but it was time to do it.
Okay, why did you want to go anywhere else in the Air Force? Like after Papa George started talking about your Uncle Gene
What do you
with
mean?
the Air Force,
Anyway.
would you have rather gone to the Marine Corps?
Well,
or
as a matter of
military?
fact, I started talking to a Marine recruiter, and he had me convinced that the Marine Corps was the way I wanted to go, because they felt like in the Marine Corps you do everything. From start to finish, you do it all. Where in the Air Force, the supply or the logistics ready squadron, they get the aircraft parts packed up to go. Transportation gets the vehicles ready to go. Ops squadrons get the airplanes ready to go. See, so everybody's got their own part in the Air Force, and it all comes together and creates a deployment where the Marines, they go in, they take their own equipment, they prepare their own equipment to be put on their own aircraft and everything. So, and then they ride with their equipment and get off the airplane with their equipment.
Did you go to basic training in Alaska?
Texas.
Texas.
Lackland Air Force Base, Texas.
How do you feel about going to basic training? Were you a little bit scared, nervous?
Well, Mama made me get your grandma made me get a nice haircut before we went, only to fly down there and get my head shaved 2 days later. But, you know, everybody always said that happiness was Lackland in your rear view mirror. So wasn't nobody sorry to leave.
What was your, right off the top of the first thing you can remember, what was your favorite assignment?
Well, when I first got to, my first duty station was Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, down beside NASA.
I went there.
And it was first supply squadron. And the first deployment that we got ready to go do is we went after Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi. Because he's doing things that the rest of the world didn't want him to do. So, you know, our squadron went over and set up and
got ready to attack.
bomb Muammar. Anyway, we never seen from him, never heard from him again, so he must have been.
That was after summer, right?
That was way before. That was back in 1984.
Who's the guy I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about someone that, like, it was after.
You talking about Osama bin Laden?
No, it was after that. I don't know.
Was it, I know who it is. He got hanged. International community hung him. And I can't remember his name right now either. All these Omars and Boubadars and...
Yeah. You were in the military 21 years, correct?
Correct.
Did you know how long you were going to stay when you started?
I knew I was going to, my original plan was I was going to go in for 4 years and get out, come home and be a state trooper. And I'd come home on leave right about my 4-year mark, and talked to a friend of mine. Her dad was a state trooper, so I went and talked to him, and he said that if it was him, he would re-enlist because they was having more problems with the state troopers in the States, the young ones that they were getting in, confiscating drugs and using them themselves and getting busted,
Yeah.
than Plus, he said that you'd have a hard time getting in right then. So,
What was your opinion of the officers you had?
well, there was a lot of them. Some good and some not so good.
Well, what percentage? Would it be like 50-50, split right down the middle? Or would it have been more on one side than the other?
I'd say 40% really good and 60% really bad. Because they was there just to be there, and they was just riding their time and let the NCOs take care of everything, and they hardly did anything. Where the other 40%, they were right in the mix of things, and they knew what was going on, so when the commander asked them a question, they had to answer for him. They didn't have to call me to get the answer, or another NCO to get the answer.
What was your opinion about any other branches of the military?
In the other branches?
Yes.
Well, the Army, I felt like they give medals away too quick, and I was jealous because there was guys in the Army that had only been in, say, 4 years, and I'd been in 8. They already had a stack of ribbons that made them look like they'd been through all the stuff General Patton had been through. And they had much ribbons as General Patton, and they had only been in 3-4 years. So I felt like all they had to do was move the right way, and they got a ribbon for it. You know.
Take one step towards the right direction, and hey, here's a ribbon.
Or if they cleaned the rifle right, they got a ribbon. Or and they could shoot. They'd go shoot 15 different weapons and get a ribbon for each one or something.
So, yeah. What was your job or jobs in the military?
Well, I was primarily a supply person. It was an inventory management specialist is what they called it. And we took care of warehouses and bits and pieces for the aircraft, and some warehouses, items for the civil engineering squadron, which would go around and repair buildings on base.
Pretty good job.
I have been a first sergeant.
Wow.
And I've been a first sergeant for the Arctic Survival Squadron. I kind of wore 2 hats there. I was their supply person and their first sergeant. It was a very small unit. We only had about 8 to 10 people.
That's a pretty small unit. Usually have what?
Well, supply usually had about 200.
Yeah.
But with Arctic Survival School, I was the commander's right-hand man. I took care of everything for him, and all he had to do was...
So you're pretty much doing everything.
Yeah.
How did you feel about your jobs that you were a part of?
Well, supply, when I left high school, I didn't think I was smart enough to go to college. When I got in the Air Force and they put me in the supply unit, I started learning it, and then I felt like I was too smart to be in the Air Force. And then I wish I'd went to college, which is what I hope that you and your brothers and your sister do. And then after that, if you want to join the service as an officer, then I'm behind you 100%.
During your deployments, were you involved with any foreign nationals?
Well, when we was in Germany, when I was over in Germany, we would do these things called bivouacs. And it would just be a big old hiking and camping trip with the Germans. And we'd hike so many miles this day, and we'd go set up camp and spend the night, and the next morning we'd pack it all up and hike somewhere else. Yeah, and that was kind of fun.
Would you do sort of like a race with them sometimes? Like
Well,
like if there's a big mountain, would you try to race to the top?
No, but we did sit up and play like war games where,
Like Risk?
you know, well, not so much like Risk, but we had a place where our flag was at, and they was trying to get to our flag before we found their flag. But while you was trying to maneuver to get their flag, you was trying to maneuver around them so you didn't get caught.
So you're trying to
Because
sneak
if you
in.
got caught, yeah, because you had some people guarding your flag. So you was trying to sneak in to get to the flag. And on the way there, you could either set up an ambush and capture the people that was on the attack to yours and take them back to your camp and kind of help your perimeter people catch them so you can pin them up, and now that group's eliminated. They can't catch your flag. Now you might only be watching for the Italians. You know, these guys might be watching for the Italians. So, you know, you could either help stray on your strategy that we're going to stay back and we're going to capture all of them, Spaniards, and capture all of them, put them in your POWMIA jailhouse, and then spread out and go leave 2 guys there to guard everybody because they're locked up, and then you take more people out to penetrate the borders of any of those islands and take their flags.
Well, that would have been nice. Was there a different view of women when you were deployed?
Different view of women.
Yes, women.
You mean you had it as far as what?
Like
Did
this.
GIs want to date them, or?
Yeah, like, did you want to date anybody else before you went off in the military?
Well, yeah.
Well, like in the Air Force.
Yeah, I did. And I dated girls that weren't in the Air Force.
Okay. Were there any problems that arose because of the differences in society's view towards women, different religions, or
Nothing that arose any place that I was at.
none?
But through the history
Yeah.
of the military, there has.
How did you feel about the weather when you were at the different bases? Did you like the weather? Was it nice?
Yeah, Germany was pretty much, the weather was pretty much exactly the same way it is here. Idaho was high desert. Alaska, it was wintertime almost half the year. Yeah, Alaska had, in the summertime you had 24 hours daylight. In the wintertime you almost had 24 hours of darkness.
Oh, well. So, did you serve with any other West Virginians during your deployment?
Yeah, I did. There was a guy from here at Greenbrier West, and then I get back here and I meet a guy down the road here to where we live now in church, and we got to talking. He's like, well, he said, I told him, I said, there was a guy from here at Greenbrier West that I used to play a lot of basketball with when I was at Langley. And he said, well, what was his name? And I said, Kevin Hubbard. He was like, no way. He said, Kevin was one of my best friends growing up. You know, so that was small world.
Do you remember the guy you met at church?
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis.
And then there was a couple others. One of them was Ed Rogers. His family's from up to Philippi. There's one boy that I was stationed with up in Montana. And while he wasn't from West Virginia, his wife was. And they now live up at Fairmont.
Wow. What was it like to leave the military?
Well, it was heartbreaking, but because of the way it happened. I got medically retired, and they kept telling me to wait, and then all of a sudden it was, okay, you got 30 days to
pack up your stuff.
Pack up your stuff and head home.
Did you make any use of the GI Bill at any time?
Yes. When I was in the military, and I was taking classes to get my degree, and right now I'm 3 classes short.
And you can get a bachelor's?
I think I'm 2 classes short. The college says I'm 3, so I gotta get that straightened out.
And what is the GI Bill? Is it like a discount on?
Well, what it is I paid $100 every month my first year I was in the military towards it, so I paid in $1,200, but I get back a whole lot more than $1,200.
Oh.
I get almost, I think it's like 3 times that amount to pay for my school.
And you do go to the VA, correct?
For my medical stuff, yes.
Okay. And would you like to do anything differently? Would you have stayed in the military longer or left a little bit sooner?
I would have liked to have stayed 3 more years. I would have liked to stay 24 years and made senior master sergeant. Didn't have any desire to...
You got medically retired, correct?
Right. So I couldn't stay in even if I wanted to.
Is there any advice that you'd like to give individuals that are currently serving our country, or for young people who are considering to join the military?
Well, if you're in the military, use your GI Bill while you're in there and take classes in the afternoons and get as much college out of the way as you possibly can, because it makes things easier to get jobs after you get out of the military. It's hard for E7s, E8s, and E9s when they get out of the military, because in the military you didn't have to have a degree, but you might be controlling warehouses worth of $300 million worth of inventory.
You don't want to.
When you get out, you can't get those jobs because you don't have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get a job driving a forklift in the warehouse or something, but and putting stuff on the shelf and taking it down, well, that's beneath master sergeant, senior master sergeant, or chief master sergeant, or most of them feel that way, and they all have a hard time accepting that they're not the
cream of the
big
crop.
dog anymore.
Cream of the crop. What? Just real quickly, where are all the places that you've been?
Well, my first duty station was Langley, 1st Fighter Squadron in Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, down at NASA, and I think we mentioned that before. From there...
No, you haven't.
Yeah, we did. And then I went to Germany, Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany.
I think we mentioned that maybe.
So,
one time or another.
So, and then I went to the 778th Electronic Bomb Site in Havre, Montana.
And that's
and
like
it no
where
longer exists.
Really? It
It is now, well, it actually, one time after we left there, it became like a little boys' town jail. It wasn't really jail, but they didn't have the freedoms that you have every day. Because they've been bad boys.
Like, okay, an electric bomb site is like where you can make little dots appear on radars of planes to help them and train them.
Yeah, we'd take little boxes out, or we'd have something mounted on the back of a truck, and we'd take that truck out there and we'd set it up, and one guy would stay out there and control it, and
I would hate to have that job.
and another guy would, and then the rest of them come back to the shop and run radar bomb scoring systems
To give to.
there. But what you got to realize is they wasn't dropping bombs on them; they was just shooting, emitting electronic pulses
Towards it. They
that would
weren't actually
simulate-
dropping the bomb.
that would simulate where the bombs would go. He had bombs, and that truck simulator, we could change it to make it look like a house. We could make it look like a ship. We could make it look like an airstrip that had 10 aircraft on it. You can make it look like anything that you could program an image in a computer.
What? Anywhere else have you been?
From there, I went to 85th Supply Squadron at Keflavik, Iceland. That's a very unique place. It's called the Land of Fire and Ice because it has a lot of ice on it, and it has a lot of volcanic activity. And when we first got there, they give you a briefing that if you decide you're just going to go down to the ocean and fish down at the dock, watch for a dark image under the water because it might be a killer whale, and you might come up and think you're a seal sitting on the side and
I mean, that would suck.
chomp you right off, and
Died by a whale.
and then the way they do their names is if you were born to me up there and we were Icelandic, you would be Wade Douglas's son. Justin, your brother Justin, would be Justin Douglas's son. Your sister Kaylee would be Kaylee Charity's daughter.
So if it was a girl, it'd fall under the mother's
name.
And if it was a boy, it'd fall under the father's name.
Right. Yeah, it's basically the father's first name and add son on the end of it. The mother's name and add daughter on the.
And have you been anywhere else in your time serving?
Well, I left Iceland and I went to the 363rd Supply Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina.
So, have you been anywhere else, or is that it?
No, there we played, we had a good time and we had good weather, and
Played softball?
we played hard and we worked hard. And we played a lot of softball. And from there we went to Detachment 1, 66th Training Squadron up at Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska. And that one, we were just a detachment on the base, so we were called the Cool School. It was Arctic Survival School. We taught aircraft members to be able to survive in the snow. And when I say that we taught them, it ain't just that we taught them, it is that we took them out and forced them to live out there in it, so they knew the gear they had worked. Because a lot of people were skeptical about the gear they have working, and oh man, I'm going to freeze to death. Well, you have to take them out there and train them to see you're not going to freeze to death. It's minus 50 today. You're not going to freeze to death out here if you do these things. Build you a shelter and stay in it and keep warm.
Isn't that where me and Justin was born?
Yeah, and you and your brother was born there at Fort Wainwright. It was an Army fort. And they have made a lot of changes to the hospital since you all was born, and
it's huge now.
the people, the docs and stuff were great, and they were Army docs.
Have you been anywhere else?
My last duty station was in 366 LRS, which was Logistics Readiness Squadron at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. And there we was in charge of, again, taking care of getting everything ready to deploy. Making sure everybody in the squadron had all their shot records up to date, their dental records, their dental care was up to date. Everything that would keep them eligible to deploy. Okay, because I mean it could be just about anything that would keep you from deploying. As a matter of fact, we was getting ready to deploy, and it was going through med records and stuff, and the medical group called me over and asked for me to come see them. So when I got up there, they's like, "Sir, you can't go on this deployment. You've been processed for a medical review board," which was they was reviewing my records to see if I should be put out to pasture if you
Get retired.
be retired, you know. So, you know, there they.
As a horse.
There.
Sent to the glue factory.
Sent to the glue factory. From there, you know, when I accepted it and didn't fight it, we got out and they'd give me 10% disability. So I fought that, saying, well, if I can't do my job, then it should be more than 10%.
Yeah.
So I finally got my 100% disability.
What about your ribbons? I know you have to have an Air Force training.
Yeah, that's the first one you earn when you graduate from Air Force Basic Training. You get the Air Force training ribbon. Then I got the opportunity to shoot different weapons.
Didn't you get like some type of machine gun, some type of pistol, and either a bazooka or a grenade launcher?
A grenade launcher, pistol, 9mm, and 38. But they only count that as one. They don't count them as two separate ones because we phased out the 38 and went to the 9mm. That M16 and a grenade launcher. So I got small arms ribbon with 2 bronze stars on it. And you get another bronze star for any other weapon that you'd have got the chance to be qualified for. Because some people like the security police and law enforcement officers, they've got to get trained on like the M60 machine gun and some other ones that the rest of us wasn't fortunate enough to get to shoot. And there was NCO PME ribbon, graduate ribbon, and I should have 3 oak leaf clusters on it because I had 3 or 4 different PMEs that I graduated from. And that's professional military education. You know, that's just your learning from a book. You know.
So like a grade school,
well,
like a regular school, like college, like
well,
you have to learn from your textbook.
Different levels. You know, you read the textbook and you learn stuff about proper drill, proper dress and appearance. You know, your hair's got to be shaved up off your ear. You know, you can't have long hair and down over your ears and stuff. And well, it's just so that you don't have any. If you deploy, you don't have any hygiene problems over there. You got short hair like you got right now. You know, most of them. Some of them keep their hair longer on top so they can comb it over, but it's pretty much
Mine needs to be a little bit shorter.
shaved. Then I had Air Force longevity ribbon. I earned 5 of those, and that's basically just because you stayed in the Air Force for 4 years. So every 4 years you got another longevity ribbon. I got Air Force overseas ribbons.
Is that the reason you wanted to go for 3 more years so you could get another longevity?
More, yeah. Because then I could have switched it over from bronze oak leaf cluster to a silver oak leaf cluster. Just one silver one instead of,
5,
3.
6. It would have been 6.
Well, no, so you got your ribbon counts as 1. Then when you put an oak leaf cluster on, that's 2. Another oak leaf cluster is 3. Another oak leaf cluster is 4. Another oak leaf cluster.
So you would have had 5.
Would have been 5. But remember, your ribbon counts as 1, so that's 1 and 4. And then when you got another one, then you take all those brown oak leaf clusters off and you put a silver one.
Would you would the ribbon still count?
Yeah, the ribbon still counts as 1, but when you got 6, silver oak leaf cluster is 5.
Okay.
Okay. I got the Air Force overseas ribbons, 2 long tours, Germany, Ramstein, Germany, and even though it is a part of the United States, Alaska is considered a long tour overseas. And I had 1 short tour, which was in Keflavik, Iceland.
I would have thought that Alaska would be closer.
Closer to what?
Like closer, because
Well,
it's a short one.
it's not. It's not short like that. It's short in that you only go up there for 1 year. Where a long tour you go 3 years or 4 years.
Oh.
3 years if you don't take your family. 4 years if you do take your family.
Oh.
Okay. Then there was a National Defense Service Medal. I earned 2 units that I was in. Earned 2 of those. Air Force Good Conduct Medal times 7 times.
Wow.
But you just got to be not get in trouble every 3 years. You get one of those.
So all your 21 years you didn't get in trouble.
Or
it's pretty respectful.
Or got out of it sometimes. Air Force Outstanding Unit Award.
Times 5.
I was in 5 different units that won Outstanding Unit Award. And actually 1 unit, we won it 2 years in a row.
Wow.
Then I had Air Force Achievement Medals. That was for distinguished achievement above and beyond what my duty called for. And I had Air Force Commendation Medal. I had 3 of those. And that's pretty much the same thing as Achievement Medal, but the next higher level. And then I have 1 Meritorious Service Medal. And that was similar to the Achievement and Accommodation Medal, but Meritorious Service Medal is higher.
It's higher. Okay.
It's a bigger accomplishment.
Okay, and that's what you got?
That should be what we got today.
Come on. Come on. You still got more. We can't forget your medals now, can we? First of all.
Cables.
I'm gonna get in the way. That's a little Air Force sign. United States Air Force.
It's the Air Force symbol.
Yes. Then, right up here, what's the story about this?
Well, that's just a silver one that goes on a what they call a mess dress, or a formal uniform that you'd wear to a formal function.
And what about your ring right here?
The ring, I bought that. It was just like a class ring that you buy when you graduate high school, and that was just the Air Force styles.
You can't tell on the camera, but this is actually blue, and that's just a blue one of.
Right, and that would go on your standard.
These.
That would go on your standard dress uniform.
Yes. Okay, it's starting to get out of whack, so I'm just going to hold the medals up close so they can see those. This is what?
363rd Tactical Fighter Wing.
Okay. And this...
Turn it there, it is Alaska, but if you turn it over...
Hold on. This says, first among all, Arctic survival established in 1947. And over here, it says Cool School, mainly. And this is Detachment...
One.
Detachment 166 Training Squadron. Allison Air Force Base, Alaska. And these are your ribbons?
Ribbons, but that one is not up to date.
So these are clusters right here?
Yeah, that's the bronze clusters. And if you look at the green one down here at the bottom, that one gets a star for marksmanship.
Okay. This one right here. This is Operation Iraqi Freedom in Baghdad.
You're not in the...
Okay. And then on the back, it's the Marines, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force. So that's everything.
Yeah.
And if you can actually see this, it actually shows the different signs for the different ones on there. But you need to see those up close, like in actual. This is the Meet Every Demand 363rd Supply Squadron. This is the Air Combat Command. And this little nifty thing, it says 22 ARSKC 135R. So that actually doesn't mean anything that we'd be familiar with. And the little symbol in the middle means the gunfighters. And it is from 1991 through 2002. It was in Mountain Home, Air Force Base, Idaho. This...
No, here's the flip side of that.
There's the flip side of that. It's 360. Fortune favors the bold. And this is Air Force Sergeants Association. And this is I'm guessing the Air Force what?
Air Force Sergeant Station Collectors
Series. F4 Phantom. That's type of plane. This right here says Enduring Freedom. Shows a bald eagle. This is Mission Accomplished. Freedom will endure. And on the back side it shows a flag and it says Operation Iraqi Freedom. We stand for liberty. This one says Proud Member United States Armed Forces, and it shows a bald eagle. On the other side, it just shows this one with the old Operation Iraqi. Same thing. So they're pretty close. They're the same thing on the back, but one has a ring around it. And says, United we stand, defenders of freedom. And this is something you'd put on...
It's a lapel pin.
It's a lapel pin. It says U.S. And here's another one that also says U.S. This one says United States Air Force Survival School.
Oop.
And on the back it says 336 training group. This is best in air combat. Supply. What's that? Supply what?
Dedallion. That's the highest award that Supply Squadron can be bestowed. There's one Supply Squadron in all the Air Force earns one of these every year, or every 4 years.
And it also says 20th Fighter Wing, Victory by Valor.
That was in 1997.
This one says 20th Supply Squadron. Sup, dogs? And what does this one mean?
Well, that one was a Staff Sergeant, or E5.
And this one, I don't know if you can tell, but it has one more little dash.
Well, and that's Tech Sergeant, E6.
And what about this one?
That one is Master Sergeant. That was my last grade.
The final grade. Okay, and what does this mean?
Well, that's just a badge that signifies that I was in the Logistics Readiness Squadron. And before that, before we changed to Logistics Readiness Squadron, we were just Supply Squadrons, and it looked more like this without the star at the top.
And what's this? Does this stand for anything? If you can't read it, it says U.S. Air Force.
U.S. Air Force, but my mom thought that was mine, or should go to me. But actually, I filled out a form, hometown release, and they sent my mom that, thanking her and my dad for their son's service in the Air Force.
This is from the NRA, the National Rifle Association of America. Because don't you have to be one of those?
No, not necessarily, but a lot of us were.
Okay, to support you. This says Lightning Ready, 366 LRS. If I'm not mistaken, this was from the last place you were in.
Idaho.
Correct. Correct. And this is just in the back. Lightning fast. This right here is a picture of what my dad used to look like. And that, hold on, that's what he looks like now. So,
I'm Wade Ritchie, and this concludes.
I'm Wade Ritchie, and this concludes my Veterans Legacy project. Thank you, Douglas, for doing this with us.
Thank you, Wade.
Okay, and that is all.